Welcome to Art History with Jackie. Today we will be talking about Edward Hopper. A recent New York Times article entitled How to Be Lonely discusses the poignancy of Edward Hopper's paintings in light of the current COVID-19 pandemic. The author notes that Hopper's famous Nighthawks encapsulates urban loneliness, the feeling of being unable to connect despite being surrounded by millions of others. Its message is particularly relevant now, during a time when we are all a little bit lonelier than usual, when we're all a little cut off from each other and trapped inside our own walls. Hopper managed to capture the essence of being together, but apart and in solitude. Hopper was born in 1882 and was an American realist painter and printmaker. Hopper grew up in Nyack in New York and was encouraged by his parents to pursue his interest in the arts. However, they were adamant that he go into commercial art to ensure a stable future. He studied at the New York School of Art and Design, where he modeled his style after Impressionist painters Edouard Manet and Edgar Degas. As a young adult, Hopper worked for an advertising agency, where he created cover designs for trade magazines. After several trips to Europe, he began painting urban and architectural scenes in a dark palette, moving away from the Impressionist style that had up until then been his preference. He struggled for several years to develop his personal style, all the while continuing to work as an illustrator to make a living. Hopper sold his first painting at the 1913 Armory Show, which was Sailing, painted in 1911. During the early 1920s, Hopper's work began to gain popularity. Many of his paintings focused on viewing a solitary subject through a window. For example, Girl at Sewing Machine and Moonlight Interior, both of which show a figure near a window of an apartment viewed from the point of view from the outside looking in. In 1923, Hopper met Josephine Nivison, who went on to become the manager of his career, his primary model, and his life companion. Nivison helped Hopper's work gain more recognition. Critics were generally emphatic about his work, celebrating his directness and vitality when representing mundane subjects. Hopper fared better than many during the Great Depression, with many major museums such as the Metropolitan Museum of Art and the Whitney purchasing his paintings. During the 1930s and 40s, Hopper produced some of his most notable works, such as New York Movie, Girly Show, Nighthawks, and Hotel Lobby. Hopper died in New York City in 1967. His wife bequeathed their collection of more than 3,000 works to the Whitney Museum of American Art. Hopper was known as an introverted artist and didn't like to share much about himself or his artistic philosophy with the public. As an artist, he was drawn to anti-narrative subjects, in other words, painting short, isolated moments of configuration. His silent spaces and uneasy encounters were said to touch us where we are most vulnerable and have a suggestion of melancholy being enacted. His most well-known declaration of his philosophy of an artist can be found on a handwritten note, in which he says, "Great art is the outward expression of an inner life in the artist." Hopper is best known for his oil paintings, although he is an equally proficient watercolor artist. He paid attention to geometrical design and the placement of human figures in balance with their environment. Hopper was a very methodical artist and was known to make up to 53 sketches in preparation for a piece. Hopper was also well known for his use of light and shadow to create mood. His use of light and shadow effects have been compared to the cinematography of film noir. He used saturated color to heighten contrast and often simplified shapes and details in his paintings. Hopper's work focused on two primary subjects, one being the common features of American life, such as gas stations, motels, restaurants, and theaters, and two, seascapes and rural landscapes. Once Hopper found his distinct style, he stuck to it despite the numerous trends that came and went throughout his career. Hopper's work is striking a particularly poignant note right now, but regardless of if you resonate with his pieces or not, I think we can all appreciate his uncanny ability to represent the state of solitude. Learn more about Hopper through these articles at the New York Times, The Guardian, and his biography for the Whitney Museum. Thank you, and we'll see you this afternoon at Art on the Deck.